Yeah. Okay, so we're back at it for the training site. We're going to cover the homepage and menus and how to put HTML into your pages. Actually, I think I'll also cover e-resources. Let me actually touch upon e-resources really quickly if I hadn't already, because it is a very quick topic. Every site will have an e-resources page. In this case, it's called digital content, but in the back end, they are e-resources. And why this is a quick topic is because there's nothing for you to do about it. Look at the training site. And I'm going to toggle on the content type here and see what types we have. So here it is. You have one e-resources landing page on every site. And the only thing you can do is change the title or the image. This one has none, so you can see it here. And it is automatically populated by all of the e-resources that Andrew and team will be setting. So every library's list will be the same. And usually you have a menu item for that, which should come with your site. But if you want to rename it or move it around in the order, you can definitely do that. And we will get to the menus today. Now, homepage. Let's go back to the homepage. The homepage is a special page because it's made up of blocks. No other page is like this. And the blocks just go down the page. And we have looked at the homepage in previous trainings. I encourage you to go edit the homepage of your own site if you haven't already. It's a little hard to do it on this one because then everybody will be in the same page. So a really quick recap. The homepage is the only one also where it has these categories, these field groupings, where you have content. There's a lot of general content about your library, and they appear in various places, whether that's the contact page or the header and footer. Then you have the design section where you have the logo and favicon, the map image, and all the colors you can configure for your site. System is just a bunch of kind of general technical information like your the URL of your site, but also if you have Google Analytics, this live chat widget here, which is obviously not online, but anyway, if you click it, you either get an email, you trigger an email, or you can have live chat, then Facebook Pixel, and then track library code. But what we're going to look at today is this layout tab, and this is unique. Everything else that you've seen is kind of just fields. This one is this block layout. And we have the blocks on the homepage, which are the banner, carousel, news, events, book list, fun fact, featured cards, land acknowledgement. I'm just going to bring land acknowledgement up for effect, and we can preview that. So if it's working. There we go. And now I've moved land acknowledgement up. So that's the first thing, is you can drag and drop your various blocks. Now, then you can click this little arrow here to expand what is in that block. I'll cover a couple of the more straightforward ones first. That is land acknowledgement, because land acknowledgement is just text. And you can see the text right here. And then news and events. News and events are pretty straightforward because you don't necessarily have to put anything in there. You just have news, and it'll automatically pull the most recent 3 news items. And events, it'll pull the upcoming up to 3 events. This training site only has 2, but if you add more, up to the next 3. So you can leave these so-called empty, but you can pin items here. So that's where this add item comes in. If I wanted to, let's go to the training site. If I wanted to say always have breaking news, this whatever this is, it was really important, then this will appear on in this block, and then it'll autofill the latest two others. So instead of the latest three, it'll show whatever I pinned and then the latest two. So this will appear first. And the same thing will happen to events. If you add an item, you add an event here, it'll always show that event until you remove it, and it'll autofill the other spots. But you don't have to have anything in there, so that's where you can use this remove feature. So those are the simple ones: news, events, and land acknowledgement, because either you don't need to put anything in there, or you're just putting text in there. Then you have what I'm calling the more complex ones, where they consist of specific items. So these all kind of work the same. Banner carousel is made up of banners. The book list is made up of book lists. Fun fact made up of fun facts, and feature cards made up of feature cards. The actual items that go in these blocks live in the media library. If I click this link, I can go view it in the media library. So the idea here is that here's this banner, but I'll just back up a little bit. We've got the folder of banners. Back up a little bit, I've got the folder of all these items, some of which are the items that go in the homepage blocks. And so that's where the banners, featured cards, fun facts come in. So if we look at a particular banner, what's that one? Ebooks just for kids. So I believe that is this one, ebooks just for kids. So let's just look at what goes into this. We've got an image, we got a title, description, and then the CTA here, and a little background shading. Let me go find ebooks just for kids. So I edit this. We can see the title, the description, the image, the text for that button, and the color. So this will toggle between two of the primary colors on your site. So if I wanted that button not to be the blue, but the somewhat orange that was for this site, I can toggle that, and that button color will change. Change the CTA text. And like many of the places, especially for menus, you have the ability to either add an internal link or an external link. In this case, it's an external link. And you'll see the internal link when you work with menu items most often. That's if there's a page in the CMS that you want to link to. It's better to have an internal link, because if that page ever gets moved, then this link will automatically get updated. Whereas you can see this so-called external link is just text. Then we have that shading. I could turn that off. It's not so good for accessibility depending on your image, because then this would go away, this orange shading. And I can also say that text goes on the left. So actually, because I've made a couple toggles, let's just see that in practice. The button color changed. The text should now be on the left, and there's no background. Let's preview that. Oh, preview doesn't work on this one. Let me just publish that. Okay, so let me save that and refresh. There we go. So now the text is on the left, the shading is gone, and this button is orange. And now you can see why it's not good in most cases to remove that shading. If you've specifically chosen your image to have a nice contrasted background, then that'll work much better here. Otherwise, you'll want that shading there. I'll just pause there. I see there's actually a lot of items in the chat, so let's just catch up on some questions. Track library code has been covered. How does it choose what is autofill? That's a question. I think that was back to the news and the events. So for the news, it'll autofill the latest news, the newest news. So if you have nothing, it's going to show basically the the most recent 3. And if you had pinned 1, 2, or 3, it'll autofill with just whatever was the next most recent. And the same as events, but in reverse, it shows upcoming events. So the next, I can't think of another word for upcoming anyway. the next few events in the calendar. Is there a specific size for the banners? Yes. For every image, you will see in the backend a description describing how the image is then sized. In some cases, they're cropped. In some cases, they're just resized to a containing width. But it'll give you instruction on the best image size to upload. The system is a little smarter than that in that when you get to like a smaller breakpoint, it is going to actually load a smaller image. That's just good for responsive design, but it'll always base it on the largest size that it's described here. So it gives you some contextual description there. Can you make folders in media for organization? Yes, you should be able to. If I think there is another chat that you weren't able to. If you're not, that should be a permission that we can toggle, but you should be able to, because that especially comes in handy for maybe not so much some of these like banners where there might not be too many. It's probably better just delete them if you're not using them, but things like images that end up in the media library, then yeah, definitely creating folders would be useful there, but you should be able to. And if it's missing a permission there, we can adjust that. In the blocks, the land acknowledgement. This image is an icon that is global. It is currently not changeable. Okay, lastly, it says, please give, okay, I'll make a note to fix the folder permissions for the media library. Folder permissions, media library. All right, let's go look at some other blocks. Let's just get out of this banner. Edit the homepage again. I'll do book lists after because book lists are a little different, similar concept. Fun facts and featured cards. So let's just look at those. Fun fact. Here's the fun fact. And it's pretty straightforward. A little simpler than a banner. You just have a title. The title in this case is just for your own organizational purposes. What actually shows up is the text and then the background image, which you can see here. If you don't upload one, I believe it'll have a solid color behind it, but you might want to have a your own image here. In this case, the sizing of this is a little dynamic based on how much text goes into it. So the sizing that you want for this image will be a little dependent on how much text you're going to put into it. This one is a little more complicated in terms of the featured cards. So the featured cards have 1, 2, 3. I think you can put more, but it'll just start to stack. But if you look at the layout here, we usually want 2 or 3 of these featured cards. And if we look at the content type for the featured cards, it should get pretty familiar with a banner where you have the title, a description, the CTA text, and the links. Let's just see that here. This title, this description, the CTA text is actually this little bar here. And then you can have a background image. And the same thing with the banner, you can choose to have a color overlay. There is something special about featured cards. We had a use case where the featured card was like a third-party widget. I actually don't remember the case, but in this very special case, you can paste some HTML code. And if you put that, it's going to output only that HTML code, and it'll ignore the description and CTA text. So that's probably an exception case, but if you need to put some special widget in here, you can with this code field. Book lists are just a little bit different because of how the items are selected, because they don't live in the media library. So we looked at book lists previously, where they live in your content tree. And where are they here? They have pages on CMS. Within a book list block, you can have many book lists where if you do, it'll make this kind of a tab view where it'll load each book list here. But you can also decide, well, I only want to have one book list. And let's take a look at what happens when you only have one book list. It'll just show that book list. This is a special view on a book list because this book list has that featured book feature. But if it didn't, it wouldn't show this, and it'll just show this carousel just for this book list. Just getting back into this, you don't have to have just one of these blocks of each block. So if you wanted to have multiple book lists, you can just add another one using this drop down, and you click add block, and then you can just move the book list wherever you want. And then if you wanted to have one block with book list with just one book list, and then another one with just one, or they're both multi book list blocks, then you can do that, and you can just drag and drop them. Probably doesn't make so much sense to have multiple blocks of news and events, but things like book lists, fun facts, featured cards, you might want to have multiple blocks. And if you don't want one, well, you can just use this delete icon. There's one more thing that's not shown here. It is this fun fact random. If you had multiple fun facts, but you wanted it to rotate on every page load, so you can just add fun fact random, and then you would add multiple fun facts. And let's see it in action. Then every time you load the page, it's going to choose a random one of the ones that you uploaded. It's just a variation on the fun fact. You still use the same fun fact content type. So that is the home page. So I pause here for some more questions. How many book lists can we put in a block? Well, you are limited probably just by how much text you can fit. So I don't have that example anymore. Let me pull up Airdrie since you talked about Airdrie. So because we have this tab, you can put more if you want. It just becomes a bit of a space issue. And you can see that on mobile, then we're starting to stack this. So after a few, it doesn't really look so good. But you know, you can experiment with how many you want to have in this book list. But maybe if you have so many book lists you want to feature, you could just have multiple blocks. But we didn't put a hard limit. Just up to your judgment when you see how it looks on the front end. Okay, we also have menus and HTML blocks. Menus is quite a bear, so let me just talk about HTML blocks. Nice little transition there. So let's just pick any general page here, anywhere public library. Let's find that page about us. your library, Anywhere Public Library. And we can edit this page. Okay, so you might have a case where you want to edit the HTML. Well, you don't so much edit the HTML, you can insert HTML. It's purposely a bit locked down so that you're not just hacking in HTML, so that we have a bit of consistency in design, predictability in the performance of the page. But if you have a particular piece of HTML you need to embed, well, you can. You just have to use this little insert edit object, which is the same thing that you do when you need to embed, let's say, a book list. You click this little paperclip icon, and you can browse over to the media library. I haven't created an HTML block, so let's see what we've got here. Oh, I think I did this Andrew the other day. So actually I have one, but I'll show you how to create one. But here's the demo HTML block. I think I just put some text in here just to show you what's possible, but I'll just publish that and then refresh that there. So I've put hello in red with strike through, which are things that we purposely don't allow you to do in the rich text editor, but you can do that in special cases with the HTML block. So how do you do that? Let me give you a little tip here, another little trick on how to get around. So I've embedded the HTML block into this page. One way I can get there actually is there's this relations tab, shows me all the other pages that are related to it. So I can click here. It's a little shortcut to get there. And then within this HTML blocks folder is where all these HTML blocks have been going. So if I edit this, you can see we've just got a title for internal reference purposes. And then here is where you can go crazy and add whatever you want. But of course, don't go too crazy because we're not like making sure that you did some proper HTML, and this will just end up on your page, could break it. So usually you're just embedding like a third-party widget or something. And this is just raw HTML that'll end up in that page. This model is a little bit useful in reuse, because now that you have this HTML block, if you need it to go on many pages, you can then go to other pages and then embed the same thing, so you don't have this code duplicated. So then if that code ever changes, then you just change it in one place and it'll update everywhere. So that is how you get HTML onto your site. Yes, this is a question that Andrew had. What was the example what was that page we were editing, Andrew, with the iframe with the style?
So it's under Spruce Grove. The page is calendar under their events section.
Okay, it's on production, right?
Yep.
Okay, so in this case, Spruce Grove still has a third-party calendar system, and so they embedded it onto their page here instead of using the native calendar system. But this comes in through some code, and let's just find our way to that page, manage.production. Let's log in with my admin account. Okay, Spruce Grove. Nope, not that one, this one. Okay, so there's the HTML block. So the question is, a form embed cuts off at the bottom. If it's an iframe, you can change the height. You just have to put the height in a style block right here. It might be hard to see, but style, and then you can do the height. Iframe's a little tricky because of the nature of iframes. They're various heights you may not necessarily know, but if you can set a height that is big enough, then that'll cover it. The tricky thing about iframes is, well, responsiveness, because you might say, oh, I know what the height is for a particular breakpoint, but it might actually be taller on mobile breakpoints where you have less width. So you just got to be little careful with the height that you set, and maybe just set it a little bigger than you might think you need. The nature of iframes makes it such that it's a little tricky for you to set it to be just perfect due to the way that you have to calculate the height. But the short answer to that is you can set the height. You just have to put a style rule in your HTML. Okay. On to menus. Actually, I'm saving menus for last. Let me give you. I have a couple more tips just on general content management. So let's just cover some miscellaneous tips. User management. You should have access to the users on your site. And so actually, that's not the best example because I just added everybody to the training site. But let's look at Leduc. If you want to create a new user for staff on your site, you can just do that here. You go to your tree in the user accounts area, and then you can create a new user. You can also edit users if you need to manually reset their password, for example. If for whatever reason you need to remove their account, don't do that. Disable their account instead. So I'm viewing this user account, and if you click configure user settings, you end up here, you can uncheck this box for enable user account. The reason why we say not to delete user accounts is because it's really useful for history. You can kind of see who was editing what here. So this is maybe not the best example because I have some generic user accounts, but when you have a specific user account, you can see who edited what. So that gives you a bit of a nice history there. That's a tip on users. The other things are about copying and moving pages. Copying and moving, you can do that in a few places. One of them is, let's say I wanted to move anywhere public library. Actually, let's pick something. Let's say history for some reason needed to move one level up. You can click this little 3 dots here next to edit, and then you can move this page, and then I'll let you browse. You've got to get a little used to it, how to get around here. If you click into a page, then it'll show you that tree. I don't really want it, there's nothing here. So if I click this little arrow, it goes up. I want to move it 1 level up. Then it's already underneath anywhere public library. If I wanted to put it just under your library, then I would select your library here. And then there, it's being moved so that history is under here. I'm just going to move it back. In another way, so what I did previously is I was on this page, I click these dots, I see these options, move or copy. What I can do now is I can access that here, click move, do the same thing, but just in reverse, and I want to put it back underneath anywhere public library. The same thing for copy. So if for some reason history was really useful, but I just wanted to copy it somewhere else to have a quick start, I can copy that either here, or if I'm 1 level up and I see this page under sub items, I can click this item and click this little icon and click copy. And I don't know where else I would put that. Let's just say I wanted to put it under our partners. So I just did a little trick there where I was showing you you can migrate around here using the arrows and clicking through, but also this tree still works in this little browse mode. So if I want to put under partners, I clicked about us under here, and then I can select our partners. So now I've also created a copy of this page. It's completely distinct in this other area of the tree, so I can make whatever changes I want. And this does not affect the original page. It was a true copy. And now I'm just going to remove it. Okay, and lastly on general tips is hiding. There are good reasons to hide pages, hide them temporarily, or let's say that you wanted to, you were working on a section of the site and then you wanted to have a big reveal. So you can hide that. You click the locations tab on a particular page and you can hide it. Hide affects the entire tree. So now our partners, everything under our partners is now hidden. So if you access that URL on the front end, you're going to get an error. There's no page here. Little trick on this table options. Visibility is a nice one. So now you can see this page is hidden, and these are hidden by superior, which means that they are not specifically hidden. But if you needed to then work on this entire subtree, like you wanted to add more pages, they'll all be hidden because they're underneath this folder. And the moment you're ready with this entire section, you can then reveal, and everything is now visible. That works for a subtree. Now, of course, you can do the same thing for a page that has no sub-items, then you just hide and reveal it. It only affects that page. All right. That's what I'll say for just general editorial features, and we'll finish up with the topic of menus. Okay, menus are managed in the media library. So here underneath the training site, I have the menu structure folder. Under here, I see 3 distinct menus: main menu, quick links, copyright links. So if I just go to the front end, let me just close some tabs here. I got the main menu, that's here, just across the top. I've got these quick links, and this copyright link is just down here. You might have 2 if it's like terms of use and privacy policy are separate. You might just have 1, but you can manage that here. And I'll start there because it's the simplest. Quick links and copyright are just a folder of links. So if I look at copyright, it's just got this one item here. It's the main menu item. Same thing for quick links. Got the main menu item. And let's just look at quick links: about us, contact us, FAQs, about us, contact us, FAQs. Let's look at one of these. So about us, it's pretty simple. You can change the text. Here's that internal, external link toggle. Not toggle, but these 2 different fields. And it notes here that it takes precedence over the link field. So if, for example, I was just putting here, this is not going to have any effect because it's an internal link. If I remove this internal link, then it'll fall back to yrl.ab.ca. So if I just publish this, refresh the front end, this now links, to yrl.ab.ca. Now I can put that back so you can see how that works for the internal links. If I remove that, I add existing object. Now I'm going to browse to Anywhere Public Library, which was under your library, Anywhere Public Library. Now that'll link there. I publish that, I refresh, and it'll link back to Anywhere Public Library. That's a main menu item, which you use for quick links and the copyright links, and that's it. They just, those individual menu items. One more thing before we get to the main menu is, how do you order these? So that's another good thing here. I think we would have covered that when we were looking at the general pages. That's where this priority comes in handy. So if I wanted to move about us, let's say all the way to the end, easier to show, I just change that to 40 and refreshes, and now about us as at the bottom. And same tip for the priority here, which is definitely recommend using at least increments of 10, so then you can put them in between links easily. So if I wanted that to go in between there you go, 20, 25, 30. Put it back to where it was, just put 10 here, and now about us, contact us, FAQs. All right, the main menu. Main menu is a little complicated, but now you know how to do a main menu item, so you are partway there. Okay, under the main menu, you also have these main menu items. So this is the same. About us, services, programs, events, digital content. If I were to look at one of these, well, about us, because we kind of just did that. It's different. It's a different link, but it's the same purpose here. Title, internal link, and what I call the external link. So I can just go through that same exercise just to show it works the same. About us, anywhere public library, and now we'll actually have that as linked. So if I were to click here, it would go to anywhere public library. But that's simple for programs and events and digital content, but about us and services have children or submenus. The submenus are organized in columns. And so that's where the next level gets a little more complicated because we have two more content types. We have the column content type, menu column content type, and then underneath the menu column, you have the submenu item. So you should always have menu columns underneath your main menu item because that's how you decide where these links are placed in columns. And here we can see it would probably have made more sense for backend purposes to name this your library, because then you would know what column 1 was. And so that is a good opportunity to show you this. So title of the column. The column is just for organizational purposes. This title doesn't actually mean anything, but if I were to publish that, then it's a little easier to know that this is the your library column, and then I would probably name column 2 our partners. Okay, so let's just look at a menu column again because it can get a little complex. Why? There are more fields that are kind of optional. So your library here is just the organizational title, but you can turn one of these columns into a link image. And I think I had an example, otherwise I'm just going to set one up here. No, I didn't. So I am going to create a third column and you can see what happens there. So let's just go to About Us, and I'm going to create a new menu column. Where should this go? I know I have the Mugo logo, so I'm just going to go to the Mugo website. Let's see. Mugo logo. Which one's the right one? Let's go with this one. Image description, visit the Mugo website. And then the same toggle here between image internal link and image link. I'm going to use the external link because it's easier, but also this would make more sense for the example. All right, so now I have a menu column, and let's see, it should probably actually display in the first section. So there we go. We have the column that is a special column that is an image link. Now it appears first, looks a little funny. So that's a good opportunity to show you the same priority ordering here. So I want to put that at the back. There we go, I refresh, it's going to be the third column. So that's a special case for all the fields in the menu column content type. Otherwise, they're just there for organizational purposes, and you just have a title. But within the menu column, that's where you have the submenu items. What makes them special, that's different from main menu item, is this display as header. So that's the case here where it's not actually a link, it's just a title, and it displays as a header. So you don't have to use that. In this case, we did, but if I were to remove that, let's see what happens. Your library remove. There, it's just a list of links. So it might look a little funny if you didn't always have headers, or maybe if you had a header, it makes sense to put it on the first one. But if you don't want to have headers at all, you just have columns of links. And so let's just look at one that we're actually using that's not a header, just to finish off. So submenu item here. You just got a title, and then you've got the internal link and the external link, and this is not toggled to display as header. So it's working very much similar to the main menu item. So that's a lot of menu talk. I'll just do a really quick recap here. The main menu is made up of main menu items, and the main menu items appear across the top here, but then you can have sub items if you want, or sub menus. And so if we look at About Us, which has sub menus, they're organized in menu columns. And then within each menu column, you can have sub menu items. Sub menu items can be toggled to be headers, and menu columns, you can use them for this special image column. This concept of the main menu items gets much simpler when we back it up and we just look at the quick links and the copyright links, where they're only made up of main menu items. And last thing in my recap, actually, I forgot to say, is that they are sorted by priority here. So it works the same for the main menu items, that the order across the top here, as it does for the columns. Priority for the columns, and then within each item, within each column, the submenu items also all ordered by priority. Okay, that is menus. There's at least one question. How many main menus? Not sure if you mean main menu items. Well, again, it's a matter of space. So if the text is pretty short, you can have more, but if they're all like programs and events, then maybe 4 is where you might max out. But it'll just, this space starts to squish. But don't go too crazy on main menu items. Make use of your sub items to organize your content. This was built very purposely so that you would manage your menu separately from how you managed your content tree. So a lot of times this menu can reflect how you built the content tree, but once you start having things like external links, then you have full control over how you build your menu. Okay, I'll just check my notes to see if there's any other key items to tell you about. Oh, there was one. Okay, one last trick, actually. Let's pick on Anywhere Public Library. So for general pages, I got to be in the content structure, About Us, Your Library, Anywhere Public Library. We have this field static link, so that if you wanted to modify Anywhere Public Library to APL, you would enter that into the static link. But for any page, you actually have the ability to create a rewrite alias. Oh, that's broken on staging. Let me get on production. It's because of this debug output. There's a bit of a styling issue. Training, About Us, Your Library. Okay, let me drag that over. So let's switch up our example to production. Anywhere Public Library. Okay, so that static link field was used to only modify this, but let's say I wanted it to work for just /APL. That's where this comes in, where you click this icon on the page, you click Manage URL Aliases, and you have this interface to add aliases. And so the only trick here is you have to make sure that it starts from this path to your site. So if I just put APL here, then you have 2 checkboxes. I would ignore this checkbox. It makes it a little complicated if you really wanted to know, you can experiment with it. But if you add the path here, it just makes more sense to leave this checked. This one is the important one. Alias should redirect. In most cases, you should have it redirect. So let's see what happens. Let's hope I did that right. APL should work now. There we go. So just go into APL redirects you. If I had left that checkbox unchecked, then when you send people to this page, it'll only display as /APL. I think it can be useful in some cases, although maybe you want to just put that page in the root. I prefer to always have a redirect, so it's kind of clear where that page lives. But that's just a little trick for any page, not just a general page where you want to have a shortcut to your content. Okay, so that's the training. Andrew, you said you had some items, so we should have some time now if there's any open issues to go through.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody has any questions come in. Two things from me. For everyone in the training, you'll probably get 2 emails today. One is going to be asking about cutover dates. So I'm just curious when you think that your library is going to be ready to move from the existing site to cut over to the new site. So we just want to get some ideas for those dates. I'm also going to send out a survey to all of the libraries for a Sitecore banner. So just curious how you want to let your patrons know on your current website that a new website is coming. So there will be a bunch of options in there. You can let me know if you want one or not, or how you want to display it or whatever. But just to let you know that there are going to be a couple emails coming today. I don't know if Lena had anything to add.
I've got another question I can answer. There's nothing new.
I don't have much to add except that I'm madly working on work plans to help you guys get your websites up and running. And there will also be a flyer coming out in the bins, not next week, but probably the week after, just so that staff who unpack bins can kind of see, and you can put that flyer up as a reminder about the new websites coming. And as a reminder, please make sure you talk to patrons about this change so that they're ready for it once you have your cutover date. That's all for me.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I missed this question originally. Your pen page is showing categories that you don't have assigned to events. It should only show event categories that are used in your event. So maybe there's something in the tree or in a past events tree that is coming using those categories. I think we have maybe even Airdrie is not using one of the categories.
I feel like it might be some of the events in the past events folder that just yeah, let's take a look at.
So Airdrie is not, at least one of these is missing. Special event is not in use, so it should not show it if you're not using it at all. But we can definitely just take a look later if there's a lingering category and you're not using it. I'll make a note to investigate that one. Okay, I've got the folder permissions, and I'll follow up with Andrew and Lena about that, and then I'll look at that events.
Yeah, Dareth, I just went into your production events, and there is a folder there for past events, and there's a whole bunch of events that got copied over when the starter site went up. So that's why those filters there, but we can clear those out.
Yes, you can delete the year folders. They won't break anything. There's a script that automatically files the past events just to clean up the events tree, but it's just, so you might see a year folder come back later, but you can delete it. It's just a housekeeping thing.
Okay, last chance for any questions, concerns? Although you can always reach out to us whenever if you have any questions.
All right, I'll stop the recording, but a few more minutes if anyone wants to stick around and cover anything else. I know we might have some questions on the HQ site, but I'll stop the recording now.